Hello, I'm Elaine Smith, the Artistic Director of the Clamour Theater Company. We're holding these creative conversations with playwrights, with actors, with directors, so that you can find out more about Clamour Theater and about the artists who work with us. Welcome to this edition of a Clamour Creative Conversation. Today, we are talking with Seanan Palmero Waugh, whose play Ostrich in the Room is going to be read on December 17th as part of our Zoom reading series. Welcome, Seanan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Elaine. It's lovely to talk to you face to face.
Yes, it's great. So please introduce yourself and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, your bio, whatever you think we would like to know.
Okay. So until very recently, I was based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then my mom had a stroke. So I came home to San Francisco, California. And it's actually kind of interesting because right before the pandemic happened, I started this play where this character has a stroke. And there were lots of reasons that play was very personal. And that character had a lot of characteristics from my mom. So yeah, I mean, she's doing great. And so, I mean, that character was always going to recover completely, but sure is now for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad she's doing all right.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm back in the Bay Area but I love Pittsburgh. And so I'm kind of hoping to maintain an artistic presence in both cities.
Great. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Ostrich in the Room without giving away too many spoilers. Tell us what we should know about that.
Well, it's an absurdist comedy. And as somebody commented, and I thought it was a great comment, it's kind of like absurdist comedy light. So for people who don't really feel that drawn to or would like an introduction to absurdism, I feel like this is a nice easy entryway. But for the hardcore theater nerds, it's also, I think it's also a fun fact to share that it's very much inspired by the work of Carol Churchill, specifically Heart's Desire. So in Heart's Desire, there's a scene where there's a lot of repetitive sequences that shift. And after one of them, Big Bird walks in and it's not really explained and the scene ends immediately. And then we never see Big Bird again. So I think that kind of put the kernel in my head about like, well, what's the deal with this bird? And so I think that's, so in Ostrich in the Room, the bird comes back as a speaking character, a really important speaking character to this couple, A and B, who are stuck in a rut and they're kind of like playing and having an argument. So it's like a couple's argument. You've heard it, we've all heard it all before, but it uses language to kind of deconstruct how they avoid answering each other's questions. And then just when they're about to get to someplace productive, the ostrich comes in and throws a whole nother wrench into the argument. And it's interesting that you say this one for December, because I feel like and like there's 3 visitations of the ostrich and like there's 3 like, you know, the ghost of Christmas past or something like that. So the ostrich comes and interrupts this couple's argument 3 times. Once as kind of like a political proselytizer, once as an infomercial, and once as a couples therapist. And so it's a fun, weird piece. It was lots of fun to write, and it's been really fun to see it develop. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Great. That's great. That's interesting about December. I was thinking, you know, this is just a fun, light piece for December after we've had a bunch of darker things happening. So it would be fun for the holiday time period, but I like that analogy. So tell me, do you have a favorite play of your own?
I don't. My favorite anything depends on my mood. So that's why, you know, like those what are they? Like the identity questions that ask you like, what was your favorite book? What was your favorite movie? If you ever get locked out of an account, those are really hard because I feel like that changes all the time. But I do feel like I have a short piece that's a really good calling card. If anybody is like, it's a good introduction, I feel, to my work, and it's called Krakov. And it's just a little 10-minute play. Um, and it was written for two young women, specifically teenagers. And it takes place in the walk-in refrigerator of a summer camp. Um, and it was it was an important piece for me to write. Well, first of all, it was a challenge in grad school. We had a kind of tricky prompt to respond to, so I had to make sure that the piece incorporated all of those elements to meet the requirements of the prompt. But working on it in school and then afterwards too, it's been the response has been great because I feel like everybody who either is a young woman or had the experience of being a young woman has kind of a lot of people have come up to me and said like, yeah, this play really resonates with me. I get it, I understand it, and I wrote it to provide opportunities for young actors, but also to kind of shed light on that time in our lives when everything external has so much more weight than what's internal. Uh,
Hmm.
so for right now, I feel like that's a good introduction to my work, and it's available on New Play Exchange if anybody's
Okay.
interested.
Has it been produced yet, or is it still waiting in the wings?
It hasn't been produced, but it's been read. It just had a really good reading with the Depot New Play reading series in Connecticut, and it was a finalist for Alleyways New Play Prize for its category, and it was also a finalist for the Heidemann Award at Actors Theatre Louisville. So, and all of that was fabulous because I felt like it was also a recognition of why theater and opportunities for young people was being seen and recognized and valued alongside work that was purely intended for adults.
Great.
Um,
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So the next question I ask, I'm going to rephrase slightly in light of what you've just said about favorite things. Um, because usually I say, tell me about three favorite plays by other authors, but now I'm just going to say, tell me about three plays that you really like that you may have seen or read by other authors, and tell us what you like about them.
yeah, lots of favorites from this category. This question for sure. I love this question, and I love the way you phrased it when you sent the questions in the email, because it was plays that were read or seen. I think that's so important because like the play is the blueprint. You know, we're not sitting in a room staring at a pages of a script. We're sitting in a room staring at like all the pieces that are assembled. So to answer your question, I feel I have to start with Chris play Drip. And I read it years ago. Read an early draft of it when I was an intern, and I absolutely fell in love with the play. I was working as a literary management intern and going through like stacks of scripts. And when I got to her play Drip, it was totally engrossing. Like there was never a moment where I felt like taken out of the script. And at least in the draft that I read, she made some really bold choices in how she put the language on the page, and there were similarities between like what she chose to capitalize that was kind of reminiscent of the work of bell hooks. And the play itself, it takes place in two different time periods. So there's like a contemporary time story and one from the past, and the two fused and the two impacted in each other in really beautiful and powerful and yeah, really impactful ways. And then a couple years later, Crowded Fire Theater here in the Bay Area did a production of it. And it was absolutely fantastic because I felt like it was a great example of a play that works so well on the page, but is also such a wonderful theatrical experience too. And so that was really, as an audience member, it was really satisfying to see. And then a second play, well, it was more of a plays. There's a production company here in the Bay Area called Performers Under Stress, and they do a lot of really interesting work, but at their core, they're very much let me back up. Short they did a collection of short works by Samuel Beckett called Sam I Am, and it was kind of like a love letter to Samuel Beckett, and the company itself actually is a huge fan of his work. And so these were challenging texts, and I had great teachers, and so like I was familiar with some of the work, and going into it I kind of was like, yeah, okay, I kind of felt like I had the words under my belt at least. But then seeing people who really love produce it brought it to life, and like I had to physically stop myself from talking back to the performance while it was going on. It was that engaging. And so that was also a really good reminder of like, yeah, we write the plays on paper, but then something magical happens when it goes on stage. And like, it was kind of like another reminder of like, right, that's what we're all driving for as playwrights, is to see it happen in real time, in real space. And then out of all of my favorites, this is the last play that I have to choose. This is kind of like a cheat, but I feel like I would be lying if I didn't say this. It's Much Ado About Nothing, because I saw it when I was 8 years old. In a moment of total parental surrender, my mom let me stay up and watch it on TV. And we got to the point where it's, Dogberry, I am an ass. And I gasped, and I looked over at my mom, who had no reaction whatsoever. And I'm like, he just swore and got away with it. And I think that's kind of when I fell in love with Shakespeare's language.
Yeah, those things we see when we're young are really sometimes have the biggest impact. So that's great.
Totally. And I remember reading later, like there's this really snarky critique of it that's all like, yeah, that's the best thing about that whole play. And it's only the only people who get it are like children. And I was like, yeah, that's accurate. And it's why I'm in theater. So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. So that's great. So for our viewers, if you would like to read plays by Seanan, you can look for them on the New Play Exchange website at newplayexchange.org. If you'd like to attend the free reading on Zoom of Seanan's play Ostrich in the Room on December 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you can make a reservation on Clamour's website, which is the place to go for information on our other events also. And you can find us, that's clamourtheater.org. And you can find us on Facebook as Clamour Theater Company. We post all those URLs in the description below. And if you'd like to see more interviews like this one, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Seanan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today and for letting us and our audience get to know something about you. We are looking forward to the reading, and we are very glad that you've been able to join the Clamour community.
likewise. Thank you, Lane. It was great talking with you.
Thanks.